Hi and welcome. So my little project is this little car here. It's a 1961 Falcon. It's a two-door Tudor. Right, so that means that what it is not like the Sprint. This one actually has a door frame. So it's pretty tidy inside, fair wear. It's got about 95,000 miles on it. Seats are done, upholstery is done, hood lining is perfect and done. Steering wheel's pretty good, everything works on it. Now the paint is pretty crap. The paint must have been done down in Mexico or somewhere before they imported it. And here, I thought it was rust, but it's not. It's actually undercoat drops there from the gun. And then they just sprayed over the top of it, same as that. Must have been a bit plastic or something fell in the paint there. A little bit of bubbling there, might have had a bit of wax underneath it or something. Here they just taped up and didn't sand in underneath there, and they painted over everything. It looks like the original colour was orange. But there's a few things on the guard here. There's a whole heap of spots on the guard. Don't know whether you can see that, but it looks like the battery must have exploded at one time and they've just painted that section black. The bonnet, I don't know what they did there. It looks like someone must have tried to pull the bonnet out or something, do something with it. So it's got the 144 in it. It does have a cross member, so someone's put a cross member. It is compliance plate for Australia. It is left-hand drive, and the plan for this, I absolutely detest left-hand drive in a right-hand drive world. It's not a very good thing. So what I've gone and done is I bought a ute as a donor car. Now the utes in Australia had 5-stud wheels, so same year model 61, 5-stud wheels, 5-stud diff, and by Ford Motor Company of Australia. This one has 44,000 miles on it. I think it would have been pretty much original miles, and it sat in the paddock because none of the hinges are worn on any of the doors or anything like that. The winders aren't worn and things like that, so just fair wear and tear, but it is rusted out. It is repairable. You might be looking at it and say, well, not really. But if you get in here and if you just take this out, patch it, patch that part, patch that, cut this out and patch it. This little clip here was for the aerial, for a whip aerial. They would have had a whip aerial that hung down and clipped up underneath there. So if you just steady, just do one section at a time. That parcel shelf is just one part. You could put a timber reel floor in it. That there, a day to fix that. Probably mess about for half a day on that. Floors don't take much to fix. So if you sat down and spent a week on doing this, now this is a right-hand rear guard or fender if you're in the US. Someone cut a piece out of that. But little bits on the tailgate and that, like you'd sit there for a day or so and you'd fix that. It has a spare guard. So things like this here, there might be about 2 or 3 days working that, fixing that, or you just get another roof on it. And same here. But I'm not. It's my donor car to convert it to right-hand drive. So I'm going to swap the firewall over. So I'm going to take the firewall from right on the outer edge out here and take the whole firewall out. So I'll unpick the firewall, so I'll cut it down and take the inner guard out a little bit. I'll take the cowl off, and I'll also swap the dash over with it. So the dash, it's a little bit dirty, but this dash is actually better than that dash that's in that one, in the red one. But with the donor car, what I also get, I get a steering box. I get the throttle linkage coming out of the floor in the right place. I get the reinforcing in the right place, and the wiring plugs, holes are all in the right place, and the heater box goes over there, and it's also in the right place. So there's a lot of things on this that are good. It's got a good front on it, so anyone who needs a front, I should be able to sell that off if I unpick it properly. Because all the rails on this are very good. Suspension's good. So that's something that I could probably easily sell off this. It has its tags on here. The numbers are on here. So there's a fair bit of money in that. I believe the doors, people are actually paying about $200 each for doors, and the doors aren't too bad on this. Still got the little clip here for the key and that. So that's my plan, but when I get to the thing about this is that I get all the pedals that are bent in the right direction. I get the steering column is right, the steering box is right, the dash, let's swap the dash over, and there's something I didn't see there, is that the bottom part of the dash there is rusted out. That's something I never saw, but anyhow, so it just makes it a little bit harder, but not that much harder, because I only need this part here to swap it over, and those ones over that side, so the rest I can get off the other dash. So the shape of the dash is mirrored left and right, so that'll make it a little bit easier. And that's the plan. These have tow bars on them. There's a tow bar here, and there's also one in the back of this, back underneath there. And people have been offering $200 each for these tow bars, so because they got Ford stamp on them, and Ford actually made the tow bars on these. So there's a fair bit in this, but the project is to turn this little Tudor Falcon into a right-hand drive. So the paint on this is pretty bad. It's almost like it was painted in Mexico under a mango tree. But it's the least of my concern, because my project for this is to convert this over to right-hand drive. So that's where we're heading, and I think if you look up there you can see on the roof, I think if I get it right, you can see that there was paint cracking on the original paint on this, and then they just painted over it. So all the original paint was cracked underneath it, and they just painted straight over the top of the cracks. You can see all the cracks. It's either that or they send it down with 80 grit and then painted it. But that's what it is. It's a good looking little car. And I'll keep you updated as I go on. This car here has got the original floor in it, and there's no rust at all in the floor. The boot's original. The sills are original. Only little spots of rust is a little spot here, and then there's a little spot in the door down here. That's the only rust in the body of the car that we can see. All the rest here is where they just painted, mastered up and painted. Like I said, it was painted in under a mango tree out probably down in Mexico before they shipped it to Australia. But anyhow, that's what my project will be. I'm working on my house up here and building my house, but I need to get away and relax sometimes, and I love working on the cars. I'll give you a quick look underneath. I don't know whether you can see that, but underneath is all like new. The fuel tank, it's got chockies on it, it's got all new bushes in it, springs are reset, all the floors are perfect, all the sides are perfect. There's it's a good base car to start with. Onwards and upwards.